please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Well, the SGX Nifty is up 46 points, but actually it's up almost 80 points because you have to take into account the fact that yesterday we were not trading, SGX was. And if you put the futures closing on Wednesday and compare it to that, that's the Nifty futures opening that we're talking about, 11,358. On Wednesday, the high of Nifty future was 11,373. We had closed at 11,272. So, indicating about a 80-point gap up. Ashwani Gujral, Mitesh, Thakkar and Prakash Gaba now join us. Good morning, Ashwani. If we have an 80-point gap up, what would be the first trade on the Nifty?
Well, good morning. I will go and chase, but with the warning that don't try this at home. If you don't know what you are doing, don't follow me. And the other thing is that on Wednesday, people tried to buy the dip and it failed. So I would expect that around these levels, a few people will try to sell into the market. But if that selling fails, and my sense is it should, then you will have a further rally, and the moment we cross 11,400, that rally will further increase in steam. Because, you know, that trade is becoming very easy. You get a 50-point gap up and you sell and you make money. I think an 80-point gap is something that will not only suck out weak bears, but will also allow stronger bears to book profits. They also want to take money off. So my sense is today's pullback may be more sustainable than on Wednesday, at least for a while.
Okay, so not so much the scared bear as much as the strong bear who will want to book a little bit of profit can help. I take your overall caution that you are more nimble, and those who can't be as nimble as you should beware of the trades. Good morning, Mitesh. What would be your Nifty trade?
Morning, Lata. So I think, 11,200 was an area where there was a historical price gap. We had managed to get past this 11,180, 200 with a gap up. I think that held. To me, it still looks like a throwback. The indicator setup isn't very positive. I think 11,400 would be a difficult level, and Ashwani also highlighted a similar kind of level. So it will be a very difficult level for the index to get past, at least in the short term. I expect a choppy consolidation between 11,200 to 11,400. Mostly we'll be looking at deploying range strategies. So maybe we'll try to attempt a short if we are close to about 11,385, 390 zones.
Okay. Before I come to Prakash, Ashwani, just a follow-up question on the Nifty Bank, considering that there's going to be yes bank that the market will have to negotiate with.
Well, I refuse to believe that nobody knew what was going on, because in that case it should be at 500, not at 320. But if we do get a gap down and because of that the bank Nifty gets depressed, I would like to use that opportunity to get long on the bank Nifty, because finally, like the BOB type issue, if things have to go down, they will go down anyway. But the market looks poised for a upside move. So maybe it's not as bad as people expect, and the other stocks like, the larger private banks, they may bounce back because a 1 rupee appreciation on the rupee and, government now coming out with measures every day, the kind of support that bears had earlier, that may be withdrawing a little bit.
Fair point. There are other sturdy stocks that have lost and where you could see a lot of bear covering. Prakash, good morning to you. How are you trading the Nifty and Nifty Bank?
Good morning to you. Well, when I look at the charts of Nifty and Bank Nifty, it's too stretched on the downside, and we are very close to very strong supports. Today is 31st September. Remember, 2001, the market bottomed out on here. 2594.87 was a low on Sensex. 12 days after 9/11. That was a low. That was a strong cycle day, so is today. So the place is just right. The time cycles are superb. If it has to bounce back, the place is just right. And I would say there's a good chance if it opens the gap, where does it go? I think a short squeeze will come in, and maybe we'll see a bottom here. If it closes here in a higher range today, the next week seems to be up.
Okay. I remember that day because Infosys went below 1,000. And it used to trade 2 years ago, the Y2K year, it used to trade at 7,000, 8,000 and more, and it went below 1,000.
When I look at the Bank Nifty, it tells me it's too stretched on the downside. It has to close above, I would say, 25,650. If that happens, next week is up.
Okay, let's talk individual stocks then. Ashwani, what's on your list?
See, today there is a macro trigger, hence I'm ignoring individual problems and just expecting that the market overall goes up and takes everything with it. So IndusInd Bank is a buy with a stop of 1780, target of 1860. Bajaj Finance is a buy with a stop of 2480, target of 2550. Cholamandalam is a buy with a stop of 1300, target of 1355. HPCL is a buy with a stop of 245, target of 262. And ICICI Bank is a buy with a stop of 315, target of 332. One more thing I'm interested in watching is where does the Yes Bank money go?
Yeah.
Maybe to Axis Bank, let's see.
Okay, that's a fair point. Well, Mitesh, what would you be trading?
So I have 4 buys and 1 sell. I have a buy on Biocon. It's been a buy earlier as well. I would buy with a stop at 663 for targets of around 705. Sorry, I think there's some mistake in this one. Lata, I think give me a minute. I think there's some mistake in the mail which I sent. I'll just come back.
Okay, that's fair enough. Mitesh, we'll let you check that. Prakash, good morning. What are your stock picks today?
Good morning, Anuj. I have 2 stock picks on the long side. I'll start with Jindal Steel. Looks good. We can see an up move here. Target in the upside is vicinity of 240 to 252. Stop below 227 on Jindal Steel should be fine. I also like Titan. Titan has seen a good base formation, double bottom kind of a setup is there. Looks like Titan can climb to around 860 zones, stop below 812. I have 2 shorting ideas, but they're only theoretical because the market may open above that and maybe there's no trade. Nevertheless, I'll give it. Is Canara Bank. If it slides to maybe possibly around 235 is the target on the downside and 250 is the stop loss. And so is Z Entertainment. I think looks weak. We could see a slide to levels closer to 440 zones, stop about 459.
All right. Thank you very much, Prakash. We'll do one thing. We'll allow Mitesh to check his mail and his rates, and meanwhile give you yet another interesting conversation. One of the key investors in Axis Bank, that is Bain Capital, is extremely confident about the appointment of Amitabh Chaudhary to the top job. Our colleague Nisha Podar caught up with the top brass of Bain Capital. They don't speak often on camera, so listen in. They're very hopeful that Axis Bank will clean up its books very soon.
John, help me understand what was the investment philosophy behind the most recent and the largest transaction that was done by Bain Capital in India by buying stake in Axis Bank?
You know, first of all, I think, as you look at our strategy, I think we're trying to find businesses that haven't really reached their full potential. We're trying to find a business that is misunderstood by the marketplace. Particularly public marketplaces oftentimes look more towards the short-term results rather than the secular trends for a particular business. So in the case of Axis, or frankly any of our investments that we make, we're looking beyond sort of the conventional wisdom of the moment, looking at the full potential of the business, and oftentimes it's misunderstood by the market. You know, when we look at the secular trends of private lending in India, when we look at the competitive position and the strength of some of the businesses that sit inside Axis, or any of other businesses we've invested in, they oftentimes look at dislocations in the short term, but we're looking at the long-term potential. And if we can partner with management, we can build the strategy and look at the 3 to 5 year view of what can be the secular outcomes from that industry and then the competitive position. And we were very excited about that prospect. We have a lot of wood to chop, a lot of work to do, but that's the kind of thesis that really allows private equity to do what it does best, which is look beyond the current moment to the long term.
And I think what we'd hope to see in Axis is that, the management team is able to basically reposition the bank, is able to take the capital that we've infused to, go in and clean up the book. They've been taking accelerated provisions with RBI's, under RBI's diktat, and hopefully the strategy is then able to play out. So time will tell. Let's see how it plays out. but we're hoping that it'll turn out to be a good investment.
Since you're talking for the first time after your Axis investment, let me probe you a little more. This was considered a risky asset, especially from the point of view of the large corporate lending, and you don't know how many risks are involved there. Now, what is the kind of risk-reward trade-off that you did, and what is the assessment in terms of risky scenarios that you really did? Was it a difficult trade to zero in on?
You see, Nisha, at the end of the day, we are a high return investor, and so we obviously, when we make our investments, we do so with the hope that they generate returns in excess of what market participants expect. And that means sometimes taking a longer term view, which, making contrarian bets, and our hope in this case is that, we are making a contrarian bet, and time will tell whether we are right or we're wrong. So let's wait and see how it plays out.
All right. So in 1 year, almost of investment, you invested close to about 500 rupees per share. It is closer to 600 rupees per share, but market volatility has also been extreme. Now, the most recent development there, and Amitabh Chaudhary for a very long time, so appointed as the CEO of Axis Bank. What is his immediate mandate as the top leader of Axis Bank at a time like this? And as a financial investor, a large one at that, what is it that you're expecting from him?
Well, I think he's still not joined, so let's wait for him to come on board. But obviously, as he's someone who is very well regarded, and if you look at the analyst commentary on his appointment, the market analysts have really welcomed his appointment as someone who has an exceptional track record, and the expectations are very high that he'll be able to take this platform to the next level, as he was able to create extraordinary shareholder returns in case of HDFC Standard Life.
Okay, yes, of course. Remember, Bain Capital almost got it at the bottom, the Axis Bank stock, 2017 towards
it's almost doubled, from there.
Not
at
doubled,
least 50%
but yeah, it's almost 40-50% gain that they're sitting at 450. I think thereabout is where they got in. But I think Mitesh has sorted his picks. Mitesh?
Sorry, the mailbox had got stuck.
I thought it was yesterday's mail.
I have a buy on Aurobindo Pharma. The stock, after hitting 800 levels, has been consolidating. So these are good levels. It's trading right at the intraday support areas. So buy with the stop at around levels of 765. Look for targets close to about 798 to about 800 on the upside. Gas Authority is something which I have recommended earlier as well. The intraday charts are very positive. I would be a buyer here. Keep a stop at 378. Look for targets close to about 398. My third buy is on Jindal Steel and Power, which is just consolidating above its 200-day average. Recommend going long with the stop at 227.5 for targets close to about 244. I have a sell call on Container Corporation of India. The average setup is expanding negatively. So on a bounce back around 627, 630 is the range which I recommend to go short here. Keep a stop at about 645 and look for targets of around 600. And my final buy call is in Muthoot Finance. Keep a stop at 454.5 and look for targets close to about 472.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mitesh. We have to take a quick break. Up next, we will have Sanjeev Bhasin of IIFL. We will talk Yes Bank with him, and we will talk Yes Bank. Well, before we invite Sanjeev, there are a lot of commodity cues that we need to know. 48 hours of commodity cues. Manisha Gupta joins in.
Well, we'll look at the recent ones though, Lata. With the US dollar at almost an 8-week lows, we have seen a definite support come in for the metals and the crude oil prices. The metals especially have been oversold in any case. We've seen nearly 16 to 20% of declines since the April highs for many of those metals. So you have seen strength come back onto that one. If you look at the copper prices, they're trading at a 3-week high. Zinc is at a 2-week high. Steel prices have continued to run up as well, and yet another 0.5% of gain in Shanghai is how that one is trading as well. On ground, the data has been positive from China, whether it is the houses data or the infra push that the China seems to be making. That's keeping the metals on the higher side today. Of course, the trade concerns, worries continue to weigh, but today seems to be yet another day when we are looking at gains, and this week is headed for a best weekly gain in last 3 or 4 weeks when it comes to the base metal prices in any case. Same is the case with gold holding around that 1210 mark. We've come back $15 in last 24 hours when it comes to gold prices as well. So weakness in US dollar definitely a supportive factor there. The crude oil prices, well, with the US president taking yet another swipe against or towards the OPEC members, has led to some decline in prices. But then again, the Iran sanctions, the constant decline in exports from there, and the fact that the markets are looking at supply tightness as we get into the next quarter has been supportive. So 70 and 78 holding for both those crude varieties.
Okay, that's important. Thank you very much, Manisha, for joining us. Manisha began her take by speaking about currencies, so I just want to dwell on it a bit and show you some of the currencies and the way they've opened. The US dollar has actually, well, crashed is a strong word, but remember we were at 95 plus, so it's a substantial fall from that level, and that is today evident in most of the Asian currencies. They're all up about 0.25%. The Indonesian rupiah is up about 0.1%. Hong Kong dollar is up 0.25%. Singapore dollar up about 0.02. Ringgit is up 0.17, and therefore you must expect some positive for the rupee as well. I think the early indications are that it will be 72 or sub 72. That's the early indication, but I don't have the NDF rate. With that, let's invite Sanjeev Basi.
Oh yes, we have Sanjeev Basi now joining us from IIFL. Sanjeev, good morning. First things first, thoughts on Yes Bank. It's down from 400 to 330. There's a good chance that it breaks 300 in early morning trade today. Would that be a buying opportunity, or do you want to see how things move from here?
Yeah, good morning. So Anuj, I think markets were in the know of Yes Bank having this succession problem, and it's amazing, you know, the bank has been a huge wealth creator. I think 35 times since its IPO listing in 2005, market cap of close to 75,000, and yet in all prudence there is no succession plan. Secondly, it has highlighted the RBI being now stringent that management and running a bank may not be the order of the day, and a constant change of CEOs after at least 2 terms will be very much on the cards. So yes, this I would say Yes Bank could be named as Yes Rana Kapoor Bank because of the wealth it has created, and there will be a degree of pessimism which will come. But I think given the size, given the book, given the performance, I would be sticking my neck out at 275, 280, which were the recent time lows, to buy this bank. I think most of the bad news may be in it, and if we get a reasonable succession plan with a professional at the helm, that could steer us through this rough weather.
Okay. Well, today will not be an IT day because the expectations are that the rupee should recover substantially, going by the way the Asian currencies have recovered, and we have taken some, or at least saying that we're going to take some more tough steps. In that context, how will you look at HCL Tech? There is a acquisition which we are told could be a fairly decent deal. Are you positive on that stock, or do you track it, Sanjeev?
Can you repeat the name?
HCL Tech, they won a deal from Asda, the third largest grocery retailer in UK. HCL Tech.
Yeah, so Lata, as a disclosure, we've had a very positive coverage on HCL Tech at 925 when, you know, it lagged because of the last quarterly results and so on, and before the buyback. Now, of course, the buyback price and the stock price has almost come in synergies, and I still think that HCL Tech is in the top 5, would be the most reasonable and would be one of the best performers. However, as a disclosure, we've been underweight on IT and have used this rally to sell. We are playing the weakness in the rupee through the pharma pack. So for HCL Tech, it would be a thumbs up, but for us, pharma would be the dark horse of 2019 to play any weakness in the rupee.
Okay, pharma will be the dark horse. Sanjeev, what about a stock like Bajaj Finance? It's now corrected 15%.
Yeah, good point, Anuj, and it's telling you where the lock, stock and barrel has been sold, you know, by the FIs. Now, that was more to do with collateral selling, rupee hedge and so on. I think a large part of the weakness may have played out. The stock has been a pedigree performer, and at these levels, my recommendation definitely would be to do a SIP for the next 3 months. I think we are at the edge of the dollar strength. Like Lata pointed out, I think the bears have had a very field day in the last week, 10 days, when every day they were using any rise, any strength in the rupee to sell. and that may have played out well, but now we are in a changing time. Globally, there is a huge rally on the cards, and I think Bajaj Finance, for all the weakness, would be a buying opportunity here. A SIP would be an ideal way to play the volatility, but we continue to think year-end targets of close to 3,000 may be on the cards.
Okay. Well, certainly the current round of EM currency weakness is going to see an upward correction. But for the longer term, as the Fed starts hiking and shows more strength, I don't know, we can once again see EM currencies wilting. But the expert is with us. Bhaskar Panda of HDFC Bank has joined us. Bhaskar, what's the sense in the way the rupee will behave today?
I think, as we see from the overseas close, it should open below 72. And then probably it will consolidate between maybe between 71.80 to 72.30 kind of range. Immediately, I don't see it completely going towards say 71 mark or 71.50 mark. I don't think that is going to happen. But yes, the upside is now limited to 73. That is something which, is now becoming pretty clear.
And therefore, what will that do to the bonds, you think?
Bonds says, actually, if you see it, the 10-year yield had already, adjusted to this new situation. Probably it will go below, 8 mark today.
Okay.
So
that will be very
I think both dollar rupee as well as stability in the oil prices is going to be positive for the bond.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for giving us both those levels, 71.80 possible on the currency and bonds. You can see the big number, not 8 but 7. I mean, if that happens, it'll be a big sentiment boost.
Oh yes, it will be. And let's see, today, the ingredients are in place for a rally. And a big one perhaps. Let's see if that plays out. Chandan Taparia of Motilal Oswal Securities now joins us for some F&O trades. Chandan, good morning. What's on your radar?
Yes, we have seen decline in the volatility index, and because of that, Nifty may see some consolidative to bounce back move. So looking at the stock wise, first it is buy on DV slip. The stock is holding the gains and trading at lifetime high territory. Overall longs are intake. This stock is making higher tops, higher bottom formation. So expecting this momentum to continue towards 1440, 1450. One can buy with a stop loss of 1360 level. Second trade is buy on TVS Motor. This is one of the strongest counter in the Nifty Auto Index in last couple of weeks. It has been making higher tops, higher bottom after giving the breakout from its falling channel. Longs are intact, put writing activity is visible. So because of that, the stock can move to a 615. One can buy with a stop loss of 578. Third trade, that is on the option front. We have seen positive momentum in most of the metal counter, and Nifty Metal Index is also giving a fresh leg of breakout. We are expecting most of the metal counter to see the short-term activity, and JSW Steel is one of the strongest counter. It has recently given a breakout from its pole and flag pattern. So it can move towards 428, 432 kind of zone. One can trade in 420 call by putting a stop loss of 4 rupees, and this call can move towards 13 rupees on the higher side.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's a bullish note on steel companies as well. They are all awaiting, of course, import duties on some steel products. But let's wait and see. The Engineering Export Council went strongly against making steel expensive. Let's see how things play out. We take a break. On that note, we are coming back. The pre-opening rates will be with us. We will also have Mr. SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com.